Hello and welcome. Today we are diving deep into Wakala, a really foundational contract in Islamic finance. Now, this is an ancient idea of agency, but its incredible versatility has made it the absolute backbone of so many modern financial products. So the big question is, how does a centuries-old concept end up powering today's super complex financial world? Well, let's find out.
Think about it. At its heart, the idea is so simple and universal, right? We're constantly delegating tasks to other people. This fundamental act of just appointing someone to act for you, that is the very essence of Wakala. The only difference is it's all structured within a very specific ethical and legal framework. So here's what we've got on tap for this explainer. We'll start by defining what a Wakala actually is and where it comes from. Then we'll get into all its different shapes and sizes, the rules that make it legit, and see how it's being used in the world of finance right now. And to wrap things up, we'll compare two major regulatory standards. All right, let's jump right in with the basics. What exactly is a Wakala contract?
A wakala is essentially an agency agreement. Simple as that. You have one party, the principal, or muwakil, who authorizes another party, the agent, or wakil, to perform a specific task for them. This could be something really informal, like a friendly favor, or it could be a formal paid service. The key thing to remember is that one person is empowered to act for another.
And this is not some modern invention. The legitimacy of Wakala is rooted directly in the Quran. This verse right here, from the story of the people of the cave, it shows this clear instruction for one person to act as an agent for the whole group, to take their money and go buy food. This establishes a really powerful historical and religious foundation for this kind of trusted delegation.
Now, Wakala is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of contract. In fact, its flexibility is probably its greatest strength, and that allows it to be categorized in a whole bunch of different ways. So let's break down these classifications.
So you can classify a Wakala in several ways, and each one really defines the nature of the relationship. We can look at the scope of the agent's power, whether or not they're getting paid, how binding the agreement is, how long it lasts, and, of course, the specific tasks involved. Let's dig into a few of the most important of these distinctions.
First up, let's talk about scope. A principal can grant a general agency, which is kind of like saying, hey, go buy me a house. Or they can be super specific. Go buy me a 3-bedroom house in this neighborhood for under this price. See the difference? The more specific the instructions, the more restricted the agent's authority is.
Next question. Is the agent getting paid? Well, in a commercial context, yeah, of course. A paid wakala means the agent is entitled to a fee for their services. But you can also have an unpaid wakala, where the agent is acting voluntarily, almost like a charitable act.
And here's a really key distinction. Is the contract binding? Generally, a wakala is non-binding, meaning either person can decide to terminate it. However, it becomes binding if, for example, an agent has already been paid, or if canceling it would actually harm a third party who's relying on that agreement. This provides some really crucial protection for everyone involved.
Okay, so for any contract to actually be valid, it needs to follow certain rules. And Wakala is no different. There are 3 essential pillars that absolutely have to be in place.
So first, you've got the parties, the principal and the agent. They both have to have the legal capacity to even enter into a contract. Second, the agent's role as a trustee has to be crystal clear, meaning they must act in the principal's best interest. And third, the subject of the agency, what they're actually doing, has to be permissible under Sharia law. So for instance, you can't appoint an agent to go conduct a transaction involving pork or alcohol.
So we have this ancient, really flexible, and ethically grounded contract. How on earth does it fit into the fast-paced world of modern finance? The answer is pretty much everywhere.
The versatility of this contract really shines when you look at its modern applications. Banks act as agents for depositors in investment accounts. Takaful, which is Islamic insurance, has operators who act as agents for the participants. It's even used to structure Islamic bonds, or sukuk, where an agent manages the underlying assets. It is truly the operational engine for a huge range of Sharia-compliant financial services.
Now, because Wakala is used all over the world, different regulatory bodies have set their own standards. Let's compare 2 of the most influential, AAO-IFI, which is a global standards body, and Bank Negara Malaysia, or BNN.
Okay, one key difference is this idea of dual agency, where one agent represents both parties in a transaction. AAOFI generally forbids this, mainly to avoid any conflicts of interest. BNM, on the other hand, says it's permissible, but only with full disclosure up front.
Another difference is how they classify a paid agency. AAOFI basically recategorizes it under the rules of Ijara, which is a type of lease or hire contract, while B&M simply calls it a wakala with a fee. Now, these might seem like small legal details, but they have huge real-world implications for how financial products are structured across the globe.
So we end with this question. The journey of wakala from a simple instruction in the Quran to a foundational element of global finance is pretty remarkable. It just goes to show how principles like trust, responsibility, and clear agreement are absolutely timeless, providing the robust yet flexible tools we need to build complex, ethical systems even centuries later. Thanks for watching.